Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, March 3rd. Hope you guys are enjoying these. Without further ado, let's just hop in. For some reason, the website is having a hard time loading, so I'm on my phone. The NASDAQ is up 1.62%. The S&P is up 1.86%. The Dow is up 1.79%. The 10-year is up 15.3%. Bitcoin is up 0.1%. Intel is up 4.38%. Markets. Stocks rose across the board with strong corporate fundamentals outshining geopolitical worries, at least for a day. Intel had a strong showing after its CEO got a shout-out in the State of the Union address. Economy. Fed Chair Jerome Powell told Congress that it's too soon to say how the war in Ukraine will affect the central bank's plans, but for now, it's not enough to derail the Fed from hiking interest rates later this month. Ukraine war. Russian forces took control of the southern city Kherson, Ukraine officials said yesterday. A significant victory for Russia due to Kherson's strategic position in the region. Environmental news. World leaders met on Wednesday to draft an agreement to reduce plastic pollution. Though in early stages, the treaty has already been hailed as the most significant environmental multilateral deal since the Paris Accord by U.S. Environment Programming Executive Director Inger Anderson. What's so significant about it? The broad strokes include goals to make packaging more sustainable, no more clamshells, we hope, ramp up recycling, only 9% of plastic has ever been recycled per the UN Environment Program, that is insane, do something about microplastics, the insidious little plastic pieces that sneak into water, and limit the overall production of plastic. The treaty won't be fully hashed out until 2024, which is actually a fast timeline for global agreements, but whatever makes it to the final draft will be legally binding to keep loopholes to a minimum. I feel that's a good cause, because we all know how much plastic ends up in the oceans and on city streets, and it sucks. So I'd say any environmental goals to reduce plastic use and or help get plastic back into a recyclable state is better. Big picture, it turns out life in plastic's not fantastic. About 11 million tons of plastic waste wash into bodies of water annually, and the UNEP estimates that'll triple by 2040. Produced from fossil fuels, plastics are a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, ergo global warming. Yeah, 11 million tons is more than I can even comprehend, so I'd see any way that we can reduce plastic use, the better. Food and beverage news. More states are joining the Russian vodka ban. States including Ohio, Oregon, Utah, and New Hampshire are jumping on the sanctioned trains and boycotting Russian-made vodka. The governors of Texas and Maine are also asking retailers and state agencies to remove Russian spirits from shelves. While these snubs may raise awareness about the war in Ukraine, Americans prefer their Texas-made Tito's. Russian vodka only accounted for about 1.3% of all vodka imported into the U.S. last year, according to the Distilled Spirits Council of the U.S. One thing that I will add is, 1.3% of vodka imported into the U.S. is still 1.3% of the entire U.S., so that will add up. So if people continue to kind of boycott that, that will definitely make an impact. Plus, some non-Russian vodka brands are also feeling the effects. American businesses have mistakenly removed vodkas like Stoli and Smirnoff, which are made in Latvia and the U.S., respectively, in protest. After one Maine liquor store owner bumped Stoli from his shelves only to learn it wasn't made in Russia, he doubled down. I think it sends a signal, he told the Portland Press Herald. Zoom out. Russia has seen its banking, business, sports, and entertainment ties with the West, which it's built up for decades, evaporate in a matter of days. Yesterday, Ukraine's Vice Prime Minister Mykhailo Fedorov asked video game companies to disconnect Russia and Belarusian gamers. Oh my gosh, that's insane. Imagine if Russia in its entirety just got disconnected from game servers. Ah! Tech news. Amazon ditches part of its retail experiment. Amazon's retail experiment exploded like Mentos in Diet Coke. The company said it's closing all 68 of its physical bookstores and pop-ups in a major shakeup of its slapdash brick-and-mortar strategy. Moving forward, it'll focus on grocery stores, a fashion store in LA, and cashierless tech. That is interesting. I've never personally been into an Amazon bookstore. I've been into one of those 4-star stores one time, but otherwise it's just Amazon.com that I am on, so I can kind of see why they're doing it, but I don't know. More like faux erd. The automaker took notes from One Direction in the hopes that breaking up would make it stronger. Ford said yesterday it will divide into 2 separate businesses, Ford Blue, which will handle internal combustion engine vehicles, and Ford Model E, which will focus on EVs. Ford thinks the split will allow its EV business to grow startup level fast and compete with behemoth Tesla. That's pretty cool. I don't really know car space at all, but if they think they can compete with Tesla, go for it. Yeah. First Meta, now TikTok. 8 state attorney generals, who clearly get their recipes elsewhere, are launching an investigation into TikTok and its potential physical and mental harm on young users. The announcement comes less than a day after President Biden urged lawmakers to hold social media firms accountable for the experiment they're conducting on our children for profit. Yeah, this one it's kind of big. I know how damaging social media can be to someone's self-esteem if they're like looking at it and comparing themselves to people on there, because they really shouldn't do that. But most of them don't know they shouldn't do that and can't help they shouldn't do that because they see someone else's life and they're like, man, mine's not like that. So it's making me feel bad. And that's just a really bad mindset to be in. I used to be like that, so I can understand how it's damaging. They need to add a little overlay or something that says this is not a real example of normal life for people. What I just said was mainly in reference for kids. Adults can kind of grasp that it's not realistic, but mainly if there's a kid or a child online, there needs to be some sort of like thing that says, hey, this isn't necessarily normal. You know what I mean? Key performance indicators. Stat. Sports merchandising is huge business in the digital age. The sport platform's Fanatics is now valued at $27 billion following its most recent funding round, a big bump from its $18 billion valuation less than a year ago. Fanatics trading card unit is worth $10 billion by itself. Interesting. I'm not involved in Fanatics or trading cards at all, so I don't have much to say. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was peeved by Vladimir Putin's move last weekend to put Russia's nuclear forces on high alert. It's dangerous and it adds to the risk of miscalculation, he added. Quote, the height of irresponsibility, and that is very true. I read that online that he said if someone messes with our invasion of Ukraine, they will be met with nuclear attacks. And that's insane. And also, the United States government put up a website specifically for surviving a nuclear attack, which is even more alarming. So I don't have that specific link, but if you look it up online, you can find it. So the threat is definitely real. And as I said yesterday, I don't know what could happen. So it's kind of scary. Wealth news. Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich agrees to sell Chelsea Football Club. Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich confirmed yesterday that he would sell Chelsea Football Club, the English soccer powerhouse he's owned since 2003. The sale of Chelsea is the biggest instance yet of Western pressure forcing Russia's oligarchs to part with their prized assets. Abramovich said that the net proceeds of the sale will go to benefit all of victims of the war in Ukraine. He's reportedly asking for at least $2.5 billion, which is insane. To me, that a football club can cost $2.5 billion, but I'm not very versed in the football landscape. So if you can buy a football team for $2.5 billion, that's quite insane. Wait, what is an oligarch? We've used the term a lot recently, so it's worth providing a definition. Broadly speaking, an oligarch is an elite individual who wields considerable political influence in society. An oligarchy is a form of government that's characterized by a few, often corrupt, oligarchs with an outsized grip on power. So why are they so prominent in Russia? To answer that, you have to go back to the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. In the years following its demise, the country known as Russia began the process of privatizing many of the valuable assets owned by the government during its communist days. But the auctions for these assets were as rigged as a game of Monopoly when we're the banker. And if you had political connections, you could get your hands on incredibly valuable companies at extremely discounted prices. Abramovich's story is a good example of how many oligarchs earned their fortunes. In 1995, Abramovich acquired a 50% stake in Siberian oil company, Sibneft for short, for the rock bottom price of $100 million and later gained a majority stake. 10 years later, the Russian energy giant Gazprom bought Sibneft for more than $13 billion. Abramovich netted $10 billion of the proceeds. Think about that. You buy something for $100 million, which is still an astounding number for me. And then 10 years later, you gain $10 billion off of that purchase, which is insane. Abramovich has repeatedly denied that he has a relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and he was not one of the many oligarchs sanctioned by the West in recent days. But he clearly feels like he'll be the next one on the hit list as Western nations attempt to seize the luxury goods of Russian billionaires. And those seizures have begun. German authorities have reportedly taken possession of the 512-foot mega yacht belonging to Russian billionaire Alisher Usmanov in the port city of Hamburg. And then finally, for what else is brewing? It's not listed on the site right now, but we have Google's rumored Pixel Watch is actually listed in an inventory system for a US carrier. Not only that, but the Pixel 6a is also included, indicating that we may expect to hear something definite about the launch dates of both devices shortly, which is really exciting. The A series of the Pixel is usually one of the best budget phones out there, so that's exciting. And finally, a true competitor to like Apple Watch, that might be exciting as well. Fitbit is recalling about 1.7 million of its Ionic smartwatches following reports that their batteries were overheating and burning customers. That's quite hefty. 1.7 million units are burning customers potentially. Yikes. Sounds like a Note 7 all over again. Fortnite maker Epic Games is expanding its push into the creator economy by acquiring the music platform Bandcamp. I've heard of Bandcamp, but I don't know entirely what it is. But if Epic Games is acquiring it, dang, that's important. Apple is hosting an event on March 8th where it's expected to unveil a new low-cost iPhone model with 5G. That could be important considering 5G is kind of in its infancy and it's slowly building in. But once it is mainstream, things could look good if there's an entry-level model iPhone with 5G support. Uber announced several initiatives to support Ukrainian refugees, including unlimited free rides between Poland and Ukraine and between two Polish cities. That's fantastic. And finally, Formula One ends contract with Russian Grand Prix amid attacks on Ukrainian cities. For those that don't know, Formula One is the track racing where they have those super fast cars that go on like super slim tracks around cities and whatnot. So they just ends the contract with Russian Grand Prix. So that's kind of crazy. That'll do it for March 3rd's Morning Brew. Sorry, there was a little bit of trouble with the website. Looks like they may have had some errors on their end or something, but either way, we got through it and we got the news delivered. All right, thank you everyone for joining in, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Peace.